Hartford, March 23, 1878. My dear brother, every man must learn his trade, not pick it up. God requires that he learn it by slow and painful processes. The apprentice hand in blacksmithing, in medicine, in literature, in everything, is a thing that can't be hit. It always shows. But, happily, there is a market for apprentice work, else the Innocents Abroad would have had no sale. Happily, too, there's a wider market for some sorts of apprentice literature than there is for the very best of journey work. This work of yours is exceedingly crude, but I am free to say it is less crude than I expected it to be, and considerably better work than I believed you could do. It is too crude to offer to any prominent periodical, so I shall speak to the New York weekly people. To publish it there will be to bury it. Why could not some good genius have sent me to the New York Weekly with my apprentice sketches? You should not publish it in book form at all for this reason. It is only an imitation of Verne. It is not a burlesque, but I think it may be regarded as proof that Verne cannot be burlesque. In accompanying notes, I have suggested that you vastly modify the first visit to hell and leave out the second visit altogether. Nobody would or ought to print those things. You are not advanced enough in literature to venture upon a matter requiring so much practice. Let me show you what a man has got to go through. 9 years ago, I mapped out my journey in heaven. I discussed it with literary friends whom I could trust to keep it to themselves. I gave it a deal of thought from time to time. After a year or more, I wrote it up. It was not a success. 5 years ago, I wrote it again, altering the plan. That manuscript is at my elbow now. It was a considerable improvement on the first attempt, but still it wouldn't do. Last year and year before, I talked frequently with Howells about the subject, and he kept urging me to do it again. So I thought and thought at odd moments, and at last I struck what I considered to be the right plan. Mind, I have never altered the ideas from the first. The plan was the difficulty. When Howells was here last, I laid before him the whole story without referring to my manuscript, and he said, "You have got it sure this time. But drop the idea of making mere magazine stuff of it. Don't waste it. Print it by itself. Publish it first in England. Ask Dean Stanley to endorse it, which will draw some of the teeth of the religious press, and then reprint in America." I doubt my ability to get Dean Stanley to do anything of the sort, but I shall do the rest, and this is all a secret which you must not divulge. Now look here. I have tried, all these years, to think of some way of doing hell, too, and have always had to give it up. Hell, in my book, will not occupy 5 pages of manuscript, I judge. It will be only covert hints, I suppose, and quickly dropped. I may end by not even referring to it. And mind you, in my opinion, you will find that you can't write up hell so it will stand printing. Neither Howells nor I believe in hell or the divinity of the Savior, but no matter, the Savior is none the less a sacred personage, and the man should have no desire or disposition to refer to him lightly, profanely, or otherwise than with the profoundest reverence. The only safe thing is not to introduce him or refer to him at all, I suspect. I have entirely rewritten one book 3, perhaps 4 times, changing the plan every time, 1,200 pages of manuscript wasted and burned, and shall tackle it again one of these years and maybe succeed at last. Therefore, you need not expect to get your book right the first time. Go to work and revamp or rewrite it. God only exhibits his thunder and lightning at intervals, and so they always command attention. These are God's adjectives. You thunder and lightning too much. The reader ceases to get under the bed by and by. Mr. Perkins will send you and Ma your checks when we are gone, but don't write him ever except a single line in case he forgets the checks, for the man is driven to death with work. I see you are half promising yourself a monthly return for your book. In my experience, previously counted chickens never do hatch. How many of mine I have counted, and never a one of them but failed. It is much better to hedge disappointment by not counting. Unexpected money is a delight. The same sum is a bitterness when you expected more. My time in America is growing mighty short. Perhaps we can manage in this way. Imprimis, if the New York weekly people know that you are my brother, they will turn that fact into an advertisement, a thing of value to them, but not to you and me. This must be prevented. I will write them a note to say, you have a friend near Keokuk, Charles S. Miller, who has a manuscript for sale which you think is a pretty clever travesty on Verne, and if they want it, they might write to him in your care. Then, if any correspondence ensues between you and them, let Molly write for you and sign your name, your own handwriting representing Miller's. Keep yourself out of sight till you make a strike on your own merits. There is no other way to get a fair verdict upon your merits. Later. I've written the note to Smith, and with nothing in it which he can use as an advertisement. I'm called. Goodbye. Love to you both. We leave here next Wednesday for Elmira. We leave there April 9th or 10th and sail 11th. Your brother, Sam.